today we are going to do section 3.2, slope, rate of change, parallel and perpendicular lines. So when you think of the slope, you're thinking of the steepness of a line, okay? So like if you were to see a hill and you would see how steep it is. But we are going to be talking about a line on a graph and how steep that line is. So the first part says, the slope of a line determines the rate of change. So we will put rate of change. If a line is increasing from left to right, so left to right, that will be uphill. Let's put this way. So we will put uphill. Then it has positive slope. If a line is decreasing from left to right, so we're decreasing down, so we will put downhill. It has negative slope. So slope is can be called different things. Slope is the slope, first of all. It can also be the change in y over the change in x, which is the rate of change. And the change in y looks like this, where you have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we can also call that rise over run when we are graphing. So we have the slope, which is the same as rate of change, and you can see, and it's also rise over run. So it says find the slope of each of the following lines. So we have this red line right here that's graphed for us with 2 points. So let's go ahead and start at our 0 right here, and we are going to count up. So we will count 1, 2, 3. We'll stop right there. So we have 3. And now we're going to go to the right to our other point. 1, 2, 3. So we went up, which is positive, right? And then we went 3 to the right, which is also positive. So we have 3 over 3. Now we can't leave it as 3 over 3. We need to simplify. So that will simplify down to 1. Let's do number 2. We're going to start at our point, first point right here on the y-axis. So we are going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went up 4, and now we're going to go to the right, 1, 2. So we will put our y goes on top, change in y is 4. So we have 4 over, we went to the right 2. So that's 4 over 2. That's our change in x is our 2. So 4, we can't leave it as 4 over 2. We have to simplify, and that would be 4 divided by 2 equals 2. So our slope for that line will be 2. Let's find the slope for number 3. We will start at the point that's given to us, and now let's count up 1, 2. So our change in y is 2 over our change in x, 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 to the right. Now we can't leave it as 2 over 4. We have to simplify, and that simplifies to 1/2. Now our slope is 1/2. Now let's do number 4. Let's start at one of the points, and then we're going to go up. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we go to the right over to our other point, 1. So our change in y is 4 over our change in x is 1. Also, our rise over run, 4 divided by 1 equals 4. You know what? I'm going to go back and box that. So our slope right here is 4. So let's go ahead and do number 5. So we've been doing the change in y over change in x, and in the last one I just used the term rise over run. So now we're going to go ahead and do number 5. Let's go ahead and do the change in y. So we're going to start at the point. You can do either way. We can start at this point or this one. For this situation, I will go ahead and start right here. So we will go 1, 2, 3. Now notice we went down 3. Because we went down, that is a -3. Now we're going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3. That's a +3. So now our change in y was -3, and our change in x is 3. Therefore, -3 divided by 3 equals -1. So our slope here is -1. Now for number 6, we can go ahead and you can go down from this point or you can go up from the other one. For this one, I'm going to do rise over run. So let's rise, 1, 2. And of course we went up, so it's a +2. Now let's go to the run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So our run is 8. Now notice we went to the left. Because we went to the left, that makes this a negative. So our rise is 2 over our run, which is -8. And we have to simplify to -1 over 4. So our slope is -1 over 4. Number 7, we have this horizontal line. Now, if you remember, a horizontal line, actually, is there a rise here? There is 0 rise. What is our run? Well, we can see it. 1, 2, 3, or you could go the other way. 1, 2, 3. So our run is 3. However, there is no rise. So let's write that down, no rise. Therefore, it is 0. So 0 divided by 3 equals 0. So our slope for a horizontal line is always going to be 0. Now let's go ahead and look at number 8. We can definitely do rise, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, but we do not have a run. So no run. So no run equals 0. So our rise is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's our rise. Our run is 0. Whenever we have a 0 in the denominator, it is undefined. And we can just write undefined. You can't leave 0 in the denominator. You must write undefined. Let's go to our next page. It says horizontal lines slope. So if we have a horizontal line, as we can see in number 7, we know that slope will always be 0. For vertical lines, the slopes will always be undefined, as you can see in number 8 that we just did. Now it says, find the slope of the line passing through the points, and it gives us a set of points. So in order to find the slope of a line given the set of 2 points, you need to know this equation right here. Slope, M represents slope. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So when you see these points right here, -3 is our x1, 4 is our y1, number 6 is our x2, 8 is our y2. So to find the slope, we must do 8, our y2 minus y1, which is 8 minus 4, over x2 minus x1, which is 6, minus 3. Well, remember, these two negatives become a positive. So we have 8 minus 4 is 4 over 9. So our slope here is 4 over 9. Let's go ahead and do number 2. Remember, let's do our equation. M equals our y2. Well, let's label these first. x1, y1, x2, y2. So our y2 is negative 4 minus our y1, which is negative 7, over x2, negative 2, minus our y1, which is minus 6. So we have negative 4. Now remember, these two negatives become a positive. So we have positive 3 over negative 2, and negative 6 is negative 8. So our slope here is 3, or negative 3 over 8. You just need to have the negative sign on it. Number 3. Let's go ahead and label these x1, y1, x2, y2. M equals y2 is 5 minus our y1, which is 5, over our x2 is negative 6, and our x1, let's see, make that look more like an x. X1 is negative 3, or minus 3. So we have 5 minus 5 is 0. Negative 6 and negative 3 are negative 9. So 0 divided by negative 9 will equal 0. So our slope is 0. Number 4. Let's label our x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm just labeling them to help you better identify them. So we have 4, our y2 is 4, minus y1 is 8, over negative 2 minus our negative 2. Now we have positive 4 and negative 8 give us negative 4 over negative 2, and those two negatives become a positive. Negative 2 plus 2 give us 0. Remember, 0 in the denominator means undefined. You must write undefined. Now you can, the only thing you could do for short is do UND, and that is acceptable as well. So UND is short for undefined. Parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel lines have slopes that are the same. So your parallel lines look something like this. They will have slopes that are the same. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. These are terms that you will have to remember for Algebra 1 and Algebra 2. So for example, what those look like is if you had A over B, the opposite reciprocal would be negative B over A. So in essence, let's write this down. One is positive. One is positive. The other is negative, and flip the fraction. Finish writing it as negative and flip the fraction. Now let's do the bottom part. It says, what do you notice about slopes of the lines shown below? So let's go ahead and start with the blue line. Let's go ahead and find the slope here. So we have this point right here, and we also have this point right here. So let's go ahead and find the slope of those two lines. So we can find, we go down 2, since we went down, that's negative 2, and let's go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we go to the right, positive 4. So our slope is negative 2 over 4, which reduces down to negative 1/2. So our slope of that line is negative 1/2. Now let's look at the red line right here. We have a point here and a point here. If we do rise, 1, 2, over run, which is 2 over 1, our slope is 2 divided by 1, which equals 2. M equals 2. So if you notice the slopes here, we have 2, and then we have -1/2. That's what we just saw. That's what makes these perpendicular lines. So let's go ahead and write perpendicular. So now we can see that these lines are perpendicular lines because our slopes are opposite reciprocals. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to the next graph. Let's find 2 points so we can find the slope of this blue line. So we have this point here and we have this point here. So if we did rise, which is 1, over run, 1, 2. Now we have our slope is 1 over 2, rise over run. And let's go ahead and find the slope of our red line here. So we have a point here and a point here. So our rise is 1 and our run is 1, 2. Therefore our slope is m equals 1/2. Now notice the slopes here. We have 1/2 and 1/2. They are the same. Therefore these are parallel lines. So go ahead and put parallel. Now on the next page, we have find the slope of each line to determine if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So the first thing you have to do is find the slope of each line. Then you're going to choose if it's parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So let's go ahead and find the slope. Let's go ahead and find the slope. Remember, to find the slope, you have to do m equals, let's try this again. So remember, the slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So remember, it's it would be y2, -1 minus 2 over 0 minus minus 2. Now we have -1 and -2 is -3. These two negatives become a positive, so we have -3 over 2. Now the slope of line 2, let's go ahead and find the slope here. M equals x1, y1, x2, y2. So we have y2 minus -1 over our x2, which is 2, minus our -4. Now those two negatives become a positive. So now we have 4. 3 plus 1 is 4. 2 plus 4 is 6. So 4 over 6, then we can reduce that down to 2 over 3. So let's look at our slopes, -3 over 2 and 2 over 3. That makes these perpendicular lines. So we will write perpendicular. Now let's compare the slope of the next line. M equals -3 minus 2 over 4 minus 1 equals -3, -2 is -5, 4 minus 1 is 3. So we have a slope of -5 over 3. Now let's do line 2, -2 minus 3 over -1 minus -4. So let's put those together, -2 and -3, -5. Put our two negatives together, that makes a positive. So -1, +4 gives us +3. So now we have -5 over 3 and -5 over 3. We can see those two slopes are the same, therefore these are parallel lines. Let's go ahead and do the slope over here. Remember, it's y2, which is -4, minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we have -4, -8, -12. And then make our two negatives become a positive. 2 plus 2 is 4. -12 over 4 is -3. Let's find the slope of line 2. We have our, remember, x1, y1, x2, y2. So our y2 is 2 minus our y1 is 1. Then we do our x2, -2, minus our x1, -5. 2 minus 1 is 1. If our two negatives become a positive, -2 plus 5 equals 3. So now we have -3 and 1/3. So is 1/3 the opposite reciprocal of -3? Yes, it is. Therefore, we have perpendicular lines. Perpendicular. Now let's go ahead and look at line, or number 4. Let's find the slope here. M equals 7 minus -2. Put that over 1 minus -4. Let's put our two negatives become a positive, so 7 plus 4 is for this slope. Now we compare the line 2. Let's find the slope of line 2. 3 minus -2 over 5 minus -4. Our two negatives become a positive, and we have 5 over 9. Now notice they are reciprocals, but are the opposite reciprocals? Not necessarily, because they're both positive. So therefore, are they perpendicular? No. Are they parallel? Are they the same? No. Therefore, these lines are neither. And let's do the last one. Our slope here will be 4 minus 4 over 3 minus 0. 4 minus 4 is 0 over 3 minus 0 is 3. 0 divided by 3 equals 0. So our slope is 0. Let's find the slope of line 2. 5 minus -2 over -7 minus -7. So these two negatives become a positive. So 5 plus 2 is 7. -7 plus 7 is 0. We have 0 in the denominator, so that will be undefined. So remember, a zero slope, means a horizontal line. So let's go ahead and write a horizontal line. So I'm going to make a horizontal line right here. That's not very straight. Let's try this a little straighter. And an undefined slope, which is over here, our undefined slope always means a vertical line. So undefined slope is always a vertical line. So let's put our vertical line right here. Therefore, what do we have here? We have perpendicular lines. Therefore, the answer for this one right here would be these are perpendicular lines. So we will write perpendicular.